The Batteries Included podcast is brought to you with United Chargers and their Grizzly range. The next generation of Grizzly is here. Meet the Grizzly Ultimate, the most powerful AC Level 2 charger for home use. With a maximum current of 80 amps, that's 19.2 kilowatts. Your vehicle could be charged up to twice as fast as a standard Level 2 and up to 15 times faster than a Level 1. And of course, it's Wi-Fi connected, so you can take control of your home charging, view stats, set a charging schedule, take part in demand response programs, and control your charger remotely. And that joins the lineup alongside the original Grizzly Classic. The Grizzly Duo, designed to charge two vehicles at the same time. The Grizzly Mini, a portable charging station. And the Grizzly Smart, a revolutionary smart EV charger. Those chargers can adjust the current from 16 amps up to 40 amps, that's 9.6 kilowatts. Plus, the Grizzly Ranger IP67 rated, built in Canada, and with the highest quality materials. You can order yours right now. Go to unitedchargers.com, that's unitedchargers.com.
Well, hello and welcome to the Batteries Included podcast, February 27th today, episode number 77. On today's show, we have a trio of new Kia vehicles to talk about. Ramcharger specs, and Tom becomes a recharge rescue hero. I'm your host, Martin Lee, from the EV News Daily podcast. Joining us today is the enigma that is the ever-travelling Mr. Tom Malogany. As you can see, another country, another hotel room, senior editor at Inside EVs and host of the YouTube channel State of Charge. Also delighted to be joined by Dominic Yoni, long-time EV journalist and host of the YouTube channel Drive Electric with Dominic. Gentlemen, let's get into it. And audience, thank you for your patience. A slightly delayed intro to today's podcast as certain bits of technology weren't working this morning. Let's start with this news of the Kias then this week. So, Kia are one of the automakers not backing away from their push into electrification, whilst others, perhaps in North America, have complained about the move to EV not being as fast as, well, they predicted themselves. And over here in Europe, the strategy of the car makers is one that is dubbed complain and comply. Last year in the UK, they all complained this time last year they couldn't hit the mandate, and then they complied and no one got fined. And this year the EU have CO2 rules, and once again, holy moly, a barrage of lobbying. But once again, complain and comply is bound to happen, and they'll all hit the CO2 target. Surprise, surprise. But one of them isn't joining in with that complaining is Kia, Hyundai Genesis. They're going full steam ahead with electrification. And we saw, say, 3 new vehicles this week. Well, one was a concept, so maybe 2.5. But actually, we got 2 of the Kia EV4. So, yeah, okay, we're doing all right. Let's get into it. I've got a bunch of notes. Maybe I could even show these on screen. I'm not sure, but I've got my notes that I made while I was watching the presentation and getting into it and having a look at the new vehicle. So what we can do, for anyone that hasn't seen the specs yet, we can run through those and we can have a look at what the vehicles look like now that we've got more than just the outside stills that we had last week. We can definitely show some video on that as well, and some pickies of the vehicle. So we start with the first kind of commercial that they've put together, which is, if you're watching the YouTube and Twitch version of this, very artsy and what have you, but now we get to see the car in the flesh, in video, and what do you think of it? Let us know in the comments as you watch this, and I can run through some specs. So this is going to be on the eGMP architecture. It's got 2 battery sizes on the Kia EV4, 58.3 and 81.4 kilowatt hours. WLTP ranges from maybe 270 to 390 miles on those 2 batteries. If you're used to the Kia EV3, then you'll be used to those battery sizes. Charging wise, it's the 400 volt version of the platform. They say 29 to 31 minutes to get to 80%. That's the 10 to 80% though, which is good. 11 kilowatt onboard charger for this, and vehicle to load, pulling about 3.6 kilowatts out of it, and vehicle to grid capability built in. Kia talked a bit more this week about their initiative starting in the Netherlands of doing more vehicle to home and proper vehicle to grid, as in energy exchange and trading and selling back to the power suppliers and things like that. So this actually comes in 2 different forms. If you're watching the show, you just saw the sedan version, which is even longer than a Kia EV6, by the way, but also the hatchback version, which will be for the UK and European markets as well. I think the hatchback version looks pretty good. We'll try and get some pictures on screen for that. Until now, front-mounted motor, so two-wheel drive. No mention of a GT variant. There may be GT line trims on this, but nothing like an all-wheel drive version of this just yet. Loads of technology inside, and so again on screen, current driver, always pretty good for some interior-exterior photos. This blue one is the sedan version, which is going to provide more space because they've physically made the vehicle longer on this, although it has a very wide but very narrow load when the boot lid's up. Kind of like almost noticeably inconvenient in terms of how narrow the thing is. You certainly couldn't put anything, I mean, enormously wide though, whereas the hatchback's going to be way more of a practical vehicle. And so again, this is the version that I think is going to be made in Slovakia for the UK market, and then also for the European market as well. So tons of technology in this. I'll quickly run through. They call it the 30-inch display, but what it really is a 12.3-inch touchscreen, 12.3-inch digital cluster, and 5.3-inch climate panel. It's going to have loads of entertainment built in, like Netflix, Disney, YouTube, and gaming systems as well. It's got the reclining resting seats, which Kia and Hyundai have gone big on before. And any other big things I need to get to before we start our discussion? Because you've heard enough of me already. No, I think that's about it. So, Tom, what do you reckon here? We finally got to see the Kia EV4. What do you reckon?
So, I'm so disappointed we're not getting the hatch. It's that would be my flavor. They both look nice. I've really grown to like Kia's EV design language, whereas I didn't just a few years ago. But they seem to be really nailing it as far as what I want to see in a car. And all the new vehicles that are coming out of the brand, when I look at them, I'm like, yeah, I could see myself in that, even if I don't want that type of vehicle. So the both of these look good, but that hatch, I just wish we can get more small hatches here in the U.S. I know the automakers say they don't sell well, but it's like almost everybody I talk to says, "Oh yeah, I'd buy a Golf or that type of a vehicle." So I don't know where that comes from. I guess they have data. They know people aren't going to buy them. We like big cars here, but there's a lot of people that want little hatchbacks, especially super efficient cars, and this would be as far as the 400-volt architecture. That doesn't bother me too much. It's going to charge a little bit slower. But I'm sure that's going to save a lot of money. Just supply chain, the parts and everything's more accessible for 400-volt architecture, and also they cost less. So I think that's fine. 400-volt cars can charge just fine if the companies massage the charging curve and the BMS. It's a good BMS system. Keep things cool while things are heating up. There it is on screen if you're watching. I like that, man. I would definitely
better. It's way better.
I would definitely drive one of those when my Equinox lease is up, if that was available here. That would be in consideration to be in my driveway. So yeah, keep doing what you're doing, Kia. I like what's coming out of the brand.
And what is it about the sedan version? Is it the practicality or the form factor or that wouldn't suit you?
It's the form factor. I just don't need that right now. I if I did want a sedan, I would consider that. But although the interesting thing is I've been driving around. I'm in Lisbon now, and all morning I was driving around in a brand new Tesla Model 3 here, the Highland, and I'd only been in one briefly before, and I have to say it's really nice. It's definitely a big improvement over the two first-gen Model 3s that I had. So sedan-wise, that would be that would have to compete with that. But I like it. I think, like I said, Kia, keep doing what you're doing because I think you're putting out nice-looking vehicles.
This car will definitely compete with the Tesla Model 3, Volkswagen ID3, BYD Seal, vehicles like that. Don, what do you think?
It's interesting. I mean, I like it a lot, but the sedan, man. I'm not sold on the back end, but then again, I wasn't sold on the back end of the EV6 when that first came out with a big kind of blank looking whale tails kind of space. So I don't know. I wish I had a better picture of it up right now, just to kind of show the angle of the I guess it's probably a lift back too, which is great. But really, the hatch is like the one. It just looks better to me, anyway. It looks better. It's more utilitarian. You can put more things. I don't know. It's just a better shape for cars, and this one looks good. I like the styling on the back. It's kind of hard to see in this picture here, but it's a good looking car. It strikes me as like it's a replacement for the Nero, and it even has like a bit of a on the hatch. You can see there's maybe I can outline it with my here, like here just behind the door on the D pillar. This little black line. It kind of echoes what's going on with the Kona styling. Kona. Oh, that's the Kona, not EV, the Nero, right? I'm mixing up the Hyundai and the Kia, but
I get what you mean, though. I get the styling.
Right.
There is a lot of. I can't believe I'm going to say this. I don't mean it critically. There is a lot to pick from the Hyundai Kia Genesis group, isn't there? Because you've got the legacy ones, like the Kona and the Nero, and then you've got everything they're layering on top. Now, at some point, they are going to have to bin off the Nero, the Soul. Can we still buy a new Soul? And the Kona, which is another one.
It's kind of what I think the EV2 is kind of doing, replacing the Soul. It looks like, because it kind of looks like that shape as well, right?
I don't know. I think the EV3 fits that bill, and that's the thing. Like Kia EV2, we'll talk about that in a minute. It's concept. Sure. EV3 is going to be low 30s. I'm currently in love with that vehicle because I think it's the absolutely perfect Goldilocks car for so many small families, and not massively expensive by the time you get monthly offers in. And then EV4, two versions of EV4, EV5. Which is coming really quickly as well. That's more of an SUV shape. And obviously, EV6 has just had a refresh in some places. And, that EV9 styling at the top is working its way down that brand family look, which is all great. But, I don't think I mean this too seriously, but, like, there's almost too many cars to pick from. I know people criticize Tesla for just having 4 cars, or really just 2, or maybe just 1. But there is a lot in the Kia range. Right. We haven't even got onto the van and the 2 yet. So yeah, I don't know what replaces the Soul.
It doesn't necessarily need a direct replacement. I think it feels like they have the whole part of the market kind of covered really now with what they have going on, even if they get rid of the Nero EV, which I guess they will be. And this little video playing out, it's all the cars from Kia EV Day, Kia Day, which is where they made all the presentation of these new models. So the other thing about these cars is like they're front wheel drive, like the EV4. It's a front wheel drive car, and I don't know why they're doing that. And there's no mention of all wheel drive that I saw. But I assume
bound to be. Because they've got a bit of an obsession with GTs anyway. So there's going to be a spicy version one day.
Right, yeah, I expect there will be, but just it's not mentioned now, and it's not. I mean, it's a pretty Goldilocks car. It's not like it's not too. It's not like a race car. It's like slowish with a single motor, like 7 seconds 0 to 60. So, but that's fine. I mean, a lot of people moving to a 7-second car will find it very peppy. I spoke to somebody. I'm not sure. Is the Tom, is the BZ4X like a 7-second car?
I thought it was in the 8s, but
okay.
But still, like, to your point, Dom, you're 100% right. I've mentioned this a few times. We talk about an EV being slow when it's a 7-second 0 to 60, and it is when other EVs get there half the time and less. But you have to understand the vast majority of people are moving from a combustion vehicle to this EV, and to them it's quick and responsive. It's like, you guys know I have the Equinox EV, and I have 3 friends that leased one because I leased one, and they all have the front wheel drive slow, it's like 8.3 seconds or something, 0 to 60, which for me, I feel like I gain out and push it when I step on it, and I can make it go faster because I'm so used to EVs. But all 3 of them are like, oh yeah, it's peppy, and I'm like, really? Like I feel like I could run quicker, but that's just, you have to look at the perspective from the average buyer. A 7 or 8 second 0 to 60 combustion car that's not a Mustang or a sports car is a peppy car. So, in that light, there's nothing wrong with a 7 or 8 second 0 to 60 vehicle. We're too obsessed with sub 3 second 0 to 60.
True. Yeah. And why front wheel drive? Like why I'd like to talk to the Hyundai Motors, whatever engineers, I guess Kia, to decided to go front wheel drive instead of rear wheel drive.
So Mark, in the comments, Mark Wright corrected me. The BZ4X 7.1 seconds for front wheel drive. I thought it was in the low 8s for the front wheel drive, and 6.5 for the all wheel drive. So it's quicker than I had remembered. So thanks, Mark.
I was in the BZ4X yesterday, actually, in an Uber, and I was asking the driver about it, and he really liked it. He was like, the only thing he didn't like was the range. Like 200 miles is kind of what he's seeing right now in the Los Angeles area where I am at an undisclosed location for undisclosed reasons. So he really liked it, and 200 miles of range. It was a little bit low for him, but he had a Leaf earlier, and so 200 miles was like at least useful. And he fills it up to 100% every day, and then occasionally he'll have to add power at some point in the day, maybe if he's like Ubering a lot, I don't know, which I guess is a big pain in here as well, actually. That was
let me make sure I've not missed any details on this. I'll pop them up on screen. These are the notes that I made on the press release from Kia that I was sent. So yeah, two sizes of battery, 5881, but that's pretty standard for what you will see on the EV3, 630 miles on the long range. That's where what I quite like about Kia's strategy, actually, with things like the EV3, small vehicle, but they're not afraid to put a big battery in. Like 80 kilowatt hours is a big battery for like a small car.
That's awesome.
It's not a small car, but they're just not afraid to give you the long range option, and then you get into a lower range car for less money. I guess they're making. I talk about how the vehicles are competing EV3, EV4, EV5, but this is a very low drag coefficient, 0.23 CD on this, so they are making the cars better as they go along. So these are improvements. Iterative improvements, even though you might think, well, hang on, they've gone backwards with a 400 volt system. But as Tom says, I wouldn't read too much into that. It doesn't make any difference day to day, real life. That was all on the car. The charging door is located on the front fender, improving accessibility and charging flexibility. I mean, they're always going to defend where they put it, but okay, it's got to go somewhere. I don't really care where it goes. Actually, it's got to go somewhere. We got a digital key 2, so you can get in with your Apple Watch. It's got iPedal 3, so that'll be that's full one pedal driving, which is good. That'll take you right down to a stop, I think, on iPedal 3. All the over-the-air update stuff. They call it the 30-inch widescreen connected navigation cockpit. That's what they call it. And lots of streaming and stuff. Any of my other notes that I wanted to bring up? Sorry for flicking through this really quickly. I think that's probably... Oh, and there we got a spec sheet at the end. I did notice that. I thought I might show this on the podcast on Friday. So there's just the two versions, sedan and hatchback. Technically the same, apart from, same wheelbase, apart from the length of the vehicle. And this is in millimeters, so apologies, and metric system. But yeah, that sedan version is significantly longer. So what's that? It's like 30 centimeters. It's exactly 30 centimeters. It's 12 inches. So it's a 12-inch longer car, which is that's significant.
I hadn't noticed that.
If it fits or doesn't fit into your garage, that's a big deal. It's significant. It's longer than an EV6 as well, and it's all boot space. And they did show that ad that we showed on the beginning of the show where someone's pulling out a big case, but that's the maximum size that you can get inside that boot. So that's it. And then some WLTP ranges on that, again in Ks, in kilometers, but up to 630 on the sedan version. That'll be some aero reasons for that. And yeah, like Tom says, like all the 0 to 60s, all in the 7, 7.4 to 7.7, depending on the battery size. That doesn't matter. Like that, you don't need to drive quick on public roads. You don't need to accelerate fast on public roads. If you're up at speed and you're overtaking, then you want some speed for safety reasons. So that looks good. I like the look of that. I like the EV4, but the EV3 has arrived. I'm not seeing any real deals on the EV3 at the minute here, but it's just arrived, so you can't really expect too many deals on a new car. But this car starts getting made soon in the two factories. The Evo factory is it Gwangyong or Guangdong in Korea, and the Slovakian factory as well. So they make it in two places in the world according to where it's gonna go. But this looks
for the
good.
money, they've added V2L, of course, so you can plug in things into your car, take advantage of the battery. But it also has V2G, which is great, for like a entry, not the entry, lower price model. V2G, it's really, I think it's like setting the standard. Actually, this car for this price category, it's like in China, you have all these cars with all kinds of features. Over here, we don't have quite as that, but we do have Kia, setting this and Hyundai setting the standard for like charging speed for reasonably priced cars, and now V2L, V2G. I guess this Equinox has some V2G, or will have. Tom?
Yeah, most of the new GM Ultiums have that, but it depends on the model. They don't all, like mine doesn't, but yeah, I think you have to get the 19.2 kilowatt onboard charger option, and even then, I'm not sure if it just comes standard with that. I didn't look into that enough, but the Ultium, we're not supposed to call it Ultium anymore, I guess. GM's platform that they use, it does allow for a V2G.
Do we have any speculation on the pricing here, Martin?
So I think late 30s in terms of pounds and euros. Of course, that's an out the door price because you can't advertise a price over here without VAT being added on top. So I think that is 37 to 39. I reckon is going to be. So if the Kia EV3 is low 30s, but that's to get in it and start it at the smaller battery for EV3 in whatever, I forget the trim is, and you can go upwards from there. And I think probably a natural handover point by the time you spec the long range battery, maybe GT line trim on the EV3 would then be to hand over to the EV4, which is a segment bigger. Where it fits with the EV5, I don't know, because we've not heard a huge amount about that. There was a lot of fanfare about these cars rather than EV5, but that's out in loads of places, I think. I think we mentioned it on last week's show, and one of our Australian viewers or listeners contacted us on last Friday to be like, I see them all the time in Australia, because I think we'd speculated where's got those? It's just a car that's a little bit off some of our radars, so EV5 is in, I think, plenty of places. But
yeah, it's just not in America.
Yeah,
which is a miss. A lot of people, I think, would be very happy with that size of SUV here, or crossover. It's like it's like I guess the Goldilocks size. People, it's like a high volume part of the market, and it's kind of a mystery why it's not here.
EV4 will definitely do bigger numbers than this next vehicle, but in some ways, this next one they announced could be, I don't know, more important, but certainly very important. And that is the PV5. Now, you've got some pictures you can show on screen, Dom, of the PV5. This is a flexible, I'll say commercial vehicle, but, watch out ID Buzz when this comes in passenger form. So, first dedicated model in its Platform Beyond, which is a PBV, Platform Beyond vehicle. They say that it's going to be passenger versions and cargo versions from launch. They say there's modular design. It means it's very adaptable with interchangeable body styles. I don't think they mean that not after you've bought the car, but I think, when they're making it. Range of 400 kilometers and 30-minute DC fast charging. Available at least in Korea and Europe starting in the second half of this year. Other markets sequentially. So built on eGMP.S, which is tailored to these kind of vehicle designs. And one vehicle, as it were, that can do lots of things. As a people carrier, and the cargo van, panel van version looks pretty cool of the PV5. But even as an ID Buzz competitor, as a passenger car, that looks, when we haven't seen all the details and what the inside would be like and all those kind of things, but really, really interesting that Kia are doing things, something that other car makers aren't. Chassis cab versions, wheelchair versions, family versions, crew cab, drop side, box van, freezer box, prime version, whatever that is, and light camper versions will all be coming at some point as well. The passenger version has a 3-row seat configuration, optimized for luggage or camping scenarios, and with ride-hailing use in mind. Charge ports up the front, like we can see on screen right now. The cargo version has a high roof, they say, and also 5,165 litres of capacity. Different lengths of it as available as well, and of course with vehicle to load, and you would think the vehicle to grid, which they're going kind of big on, because you could do some interesting kind of trading stuff if your vehicles are plugged in overnight, if you've got a fleet of delivery vans, which is all very interesting. Further iterations, they say, of the PV5 will be made available over time. 2 of the first additional variants will be the PV5 Crew, featuring various cargo securing options, lashing points and tracks, and the wheelchair version as well. So we can see them loading a pallet on it right now on screen, and the camper version or the wheelchair version being used, right there. So this won't sell. So there's 2 batteries, 51.5, 71.2 kilowatt hour for the 2 battery options. Cargo version would come with an even lower third option of 43 kilowatt hours on the cargo version. Single motor at the minute, 120 kilowatts front mounted motor. And yeah, like I say, 30 minutes charge and 400 kilometers of range. This looks like a really interesting thing to spend a lot of time, because it's going to have that passenger car experience for a people carrier, or even if you use it as a cargo van or you're doing parcel delivery. So it'll feel like driving a car. You're going to have the big 7-inch instrument cluster, the big 13-inch multimedia display, very much like a car experience in a van, over-the-air updates, all that kind of stuff, and it's got that current styling of Kia. So I don't know, in a way, watch out ID Buzz, because if they get the interior of this right, then that could be really interesting. What do you reckon, Tom?
Don't you think it needs more range? I mean, for a delivery vehicle, it's one thing. But what did you say was the largest battery option?
71.2 kilowatt hours.
Why?
I mean, for commercial use where there's a set, where the routing managers know exactly how far it goes every day, and it's on a set delivery schedule, that can work. I mean, you could even make smaller batteries work for many use cases with that. But I mean, I think that might be where Europe and the US has its like kind of one of the divides we have with range and battery size. I don't know how well that would be received here range wise. It looks cool, but for other than outside of commercial use, I'm not sure that many people would jump on that personally. I mean, what do you think, Dom?
What is the range of the big battery? I mean, I don't know why the battery is smaller than the Kia EV4. Yeah, why is it smaller than the Kia EV4's battery? That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it's got to have at least as much room to put one. It's got to have space to put a bigger battery. So, I mean, they have the options. You have a smaller one. What make the bigger one bigger? Like legit should have over 300 miles. But do we know the range number, Martin?
I don't know what it is in miles. 400 kilometers, so maybe 200.
Oh yeah, not 250. Yeah,
that's what they say. That's I mean, you could just, Dom, you've been doing this long enough. When somebody tells you how big the battery is, you know how far it's going to go. And in the winter, in the winter, that van won't go 170 miles. Here in the U.S., maybe not even 150 miles when it's cold. So that's a problem.
Right, and the commercial one has a smaller option too for a battery size. You can get down to 43.3 kilowatt hours, which is getting down to just a little over like 110, 120 miles, I guess, in my mind.
That makes sense for commercial, Dom, because inner city delivery stuff, where they, the van's on the road for 8 hours and it went 32 miles, like that's perfect for that.
Oh, you found some good pictures there, Martin. That's great.
Yeah, this is the UK's Autocar magazine. I think these are their own pictures by the look of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, if this was a Ford Transit people carrier or even a Ford Transit cargo van, then obviously there's the e-Transit as well. Then this is stiff competition. I mentioned the Buzz a couple of times, but for the kind of people carriers that will do 6, and there's also the PV7 that wasn't talked about this week in Spain at the EV Day. But the concept, when they released the concept of their platform a couple of years ago, whenever it was, they talked about a bigger one. If they did mention it, then I didn't see that in the coverage this week. And so I just think that becomes a really interesting option to have from Kia. And there's the cargo version we've put on screen right now, which is, what you think a big van. There's only too many things you can do with the panel van.
Right.
But it looks very cool. And I think what's interesting is, it's a panel van, but there's I guess you can have, maybe the Rivian vans have got their own styling to it. And some of the, the sort of bright drop vans have had their own personalities and what have you. But in terms of being a good place to work and a good basis as a camper, maybe a weekend or a day camper, like you say, with that battery, you're not going to be doing massive camping journeys. I think with an in-car experience that feels very much like a car, like a Kia car, but you're driving a big van. It's fantastic for the working conditions of people that deliver our parcels every day from the online shopping that we do. And of course, electric vehicles are perfectly suited for anything that stop-start as well. So they talked about the passenger van being good for ride hailing and stuff like that. And there's no doubt about it. That'd be great on the Ubers of the world. But the van version of this, I think, makes drivers' lives a lot nicer. And I don't know the ins and outs of the logistics business, but if you do that kind of business, you know exactly where your driver is going to be at what time of the day. So I presume the industry has fed into Kia, and Kia has sought advice of the industry that these battery sizes. The third one that's going to be just for the cargo van, the 40 kilowatt hour, I presume that is just the result of feedback of the industry saying, look, we do 80 miles a day, or we do 30 miles a day, on inner city stuff, but it's all stop start, and we just want to get the cost down, not carry as much weight. So I guess that, you'd hope that's going to happen as well. But yeah, how cool is this? Kia are on a roll right now, and I just think making some really funky looking vehicles. This is so cool.
It's like in China, what we saw with Kyle over there now, who's in the comments actually right now. The vans are becoming like a big deal, and this is. But those are more minivan. I feel like this is like a slightly different kind of style. It's a bit more. I don't want to say masculine because I don't think it's like that, but it's like got a strong presence. It's more hard edges, soft edges, but I don't know. There's some the angularity of it all. It's just I think it would appeal to a lot of people, and I'm curious how it will be received in China actually. Where there already a lot of really nicely equipped vans. This is not going to be that. This is going to be more on the affordable side. Maybe. Can't wait to see these until these are 8,000 used. That's like the standard line, man.
Get these 3 years old.
Right. Yeah. 3 years is the perfect depreciation time, according to something we were reading recently.
Yeah,
if you put mileage to warranty and all that kind of stuff, depreciation, and to keep that in mind with the warranties and all that kind of stuff.
So that looks cool. We did have one more that we can get to with Kia, and that was the EV2 concept. Now, this is going to be a very, very important vehicle in order to keep the majority of people who want to buy cheaper cars happy. So this was technically, as a concept, I don't think that they're going to be a million miles away from this when we get the production version, because let's face it, the Kia EV4, they didn't do a lot between the concept and what we just talked about for the last 20 minutes, did they? So, so that looks, there are other shots that I can show. This is Inside EVs online right now. Rear angle, looks kind of the Kia styling. If I just scroll down a bit more, yeah,
Kind of
the
blank
coach
look in there
doors-
in the back. Yeah.
the coach doors won't make it. Like they're not
No.
going to be on the production version. The little, where's the steering wheel? The little squircle steering wheel. That's not going to be on the production version. The completely flat floor where the front seats sort of spin round. You know, all car makers for years have been talking about, oh, our cars are a lounge. You know, they're more than mobility. It's an extension of your lifestyle. Yeah. Although actually some of those.
Extension of your living room.
What was the one that Kyle talked about on his China trip? The something mix? Is it a Zeekr mix or? That was
The
one with-
MX, Zeekr MX, yeah.
Was it
Or
with the front
maybe
seats?
mix, yeah.
They swivel around. Like
Yeah.
you can't even spec it without the swivelly seats. Like they're basically saying the only version we do, the front seats turn around. So like, these cars are coming. But yes, there's concepty car bits of it. Let's overlook those and think actually an EV2 coming. Maybe 20,000, 21,000. That's really exciting. I can probably add some context from a European perspective here, and that is that I've mentioned this already on the intro that the UK had a 22% mandate last year. We're 28% mandate this year. All the car makers this time last year were complaining that they were going to get fined and they couldn't hit it. And between buying credits from the Teslas and Polestars and Chinese companies of the world, the ones that only make EVs, and between just selling more EVs, nobody got fined. And now they're all saying, well, we can't possibly hit 28% in the UK. So I don't know. Benefit of the doubt given sometimes, but also the whole, complain and comply way that the car makers operate sometimes with regulations. And in Europe this year, CO2 is the big thing, and so they're all complaining, well, we're going to be hit by, last year it was 15 billion and now it's magically 16 billion in fines, and I don't think that's going to happen. I think they'd all magically find small EVs to sell. So Citroën, EC3, Peugeot, E3008's pretty big family car, but also very affordable. What else have we got at that price? Renault 5. Go small on that. You got Leap Motor T03 and the Dacia Spring, but that's just a real cheapie just to get yourself from A to B. But there are some really nice cars in the low 20s. Fiat Grande Panda, and so I think there is definitely cars coming in this low 20s price bracket, and this car is absolutely designed to fit in there. The sort of Hyundai Instas of the world and these EV2. So this looks cool though. I don't know. I didn't read if you guys are going to get it, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, we'll be lucky if we get the EV4, but we have to wait till 2026 to get the EV4 even. That's like not great. And then only they need to send us a hatch. I feel like, man, that's just a miss. I'm still griping about that. Yeah.
So that's a big bunch of Kia news. Right, this week, we mentioned it last week, by the way, but Tom became a recharge rescue hero in between jet setting around the world. You still have time to get on a plane and help out your viewers of your State of Charge channel who are having a bit of a nightmare with their EV charging. I can't remember last week how in-depth we went, whether we just sort of teased it with a quick photo or something. But Tom, what's the full story on that? Because I was even on like the electric vehicles subreddit this week, and they're all raving about your video, and it's kind of spreading. It's gone a bit viral, a bit far and wide.
Yeah, well, I've had a couple of news outlets reach out to me and ask me if they could repost it or, interview me about it. So I started this last year where when I saw so many of my followers were sending me emails, messages, pictures of their charging equipment saying, hey, what happened here? Why did my charger melt? Why did this, disconnect melt? Why did the outlet burn up? So I thought it might be a good idea to raise awareness of inferior equipment and poor quality installations if I made a video and went to somebody's house and fixed their problem. So I did that. It was in Texas last year. And the video did really well. People were really interested and said, hey, do more of these. So then a couple of months ago, I flew up to Washington State and fixed somebody's problem up there. I brought the local Qmerit contractors. I pay for everything. Qmerit doesn't pay for it. I foot the whole bill. I hire like one of their local contractors. They go a day or two before I show up so they know what's happening there because we need to have the right supplies and stuff. And then I show up with a new charger. We fix everything, and I give the people a new charger. So about I guess 3 weeks ago, I was in the Mustang Mach-E Facebook group, and I saw a post of a burned NEMA 1450 outlet. It was burned pretty badly, and the poster was just like, "I need help here. I don't know what to do. Can you guys tell me what to do?" And it's funny when people go to Facebook for advice, you get a wide variety of answers, and a lot of them are not good answers. But some people do the right thing. So I messaged this woman, her name's Jessica, and said, "Look, I'll come to your house. I'll fix everything. I'll give you a new charger. I just need to make a video on it." And it was funny. She responded to me like, you must be some kind of scammer, because nobody would do that, And I'm like, "Here, just watch some of these videos that I've done. It's real. It's legit. I'm not trying to scam you." So then she messaged me back. She's like, "Okay, maybe you're not a scammer. Maybe you really do this." So she's like, "But I need this fixed like immediately." So I said, "Look, give me about a week. I think I can get it done in a week." So it was 9 days, start to finish, from the time I emailed her to the time I got it done. And there was a lot of issues at her house. The electrician that did it was her ex-husband. She's a single mom with special needs child. So she's got a lot on her plate. Great gal. And I went to her house. The electrician that did it 3 years ago, there were a bunch of problems. They put in a 60 amp breaker for a NEMA 1450 with 8-gauge Romex wire. The outlet that they installed was, of course, a super cheap outlet. It melted. They didn't even screw in, close the outlet box with the 4 screws. So when the insides of the outlet went on fire, you could see that the flames were actually coming out of the holes where they didn't even screw the connector in right, the faceplate on properly. They didn't attach the cotter pin on the Grizzly on the wall, so that could have fell off. The mounting bracket on the wall had only one screw, and the other screw wasn't screwed into anything. You could just spin it. So it was just a really, really poor installation. So we went, fixed everything. I brought her a new Grizzly Ultimate, which is a 48 amp charger, and I derated it down to 40 amps because there was it's a long run from her service panel in the basement to the garage, and it's through walls, and it's a finished basement. And I'm mentioning this because I got a lot of comments of people saying, "Tom, you should have just, why did you derate it? She should be able to charge at 48 amps instead of 40 amps. Number one, the 40 amps was more than enough for what she needed. Okay.
Yeah.
If she said, "Look, I'd love to charge faster," I would have done it, but it would have meant cutting sheetrock and pulling wires and putting conduit in the walls. It would have added, probably another full days of work and more than $1,000 extra. And charging at 48 amps, as most people that charge their EVs know, that's more than fast enough. Then charging, that extra 8 amps is almost offering you nothing if you charge at night. But there were actually surprising a lot of people that seem to make a big distinction between 40 amp charging and 48 amp charging, like it was a big deal, which it really isn't. So many of my followers, first of all, even when they have a 48 amp charger, they derate their car to charge at like 32 amps overnight because it's still charged overnight. Anyway, so we fix everything up and leave, and she's just so happy that we were able to do this. And it's one of those instances where I felt really good leaving, where I felt really like wow, we really helped somebody out here. You can see if you're watching, the plug was so melted it was fused to the to the inside of the outlet, completely fused to the inside of the outlet. So it was she really could have had a fire. I mean, there was a fire inside that box. It didn't just melt. And, it could have been a lot worse than what it was.
Oh. She's on her own, potentially getting a child out of the house, if they're not at school or whatever. It's just awful to think about the consequences of people doing it themselves. I love the fact this was the ex-husband. I mean, I'm sure she didn't like him already, but this didn't do his PR any good.
Right.
Yeah. It was, you know, she is on her own. She has a 70-mile round trip. She was charging the Mach-E at DC fast chargers now, like every 2 days, right? Because it's dead of winter, very cold. It's in the Cleveland, Ohio area. You get the lake effect there. It snows like it was snowing when I landed. So she was like, and you know, it charges a lot slower in the winter on DC fast chargers. I'm like, yeah, you know, if you know, maybe try preconditioning the battery, it'll help a little bit, but now you don't have to worry about that. You know, you can just you know, plug in. So that's another thing. If you're watching now, some people were talking about, well, why'd you put the junction box in? You should have just put the charger in where the junction box is. And they're right. I wanted to do that. But can you see right below where they're working? That's a handicap accessibility ramp. And the charger would have been too low. It would have actually been in the way for handicap accessibility. And that's something that people don't realize. And they're like, that was terrible. Why did you put the junction box in there? The charger had to be higher. And, you know, it was all done right. And, you know, all the connections, I triple check all the connections before I leave. And the electricians that are there, you know, QMerit knows what I'm doing here and that it's going to be on a video and everything. So the people that they send, they especially know that they've been prepped to do, you know, make sure all the connections are torqued properly and everything, nothing's going to come loose. So, but it was like I said, it was one of those things that made me like when I was flying home, I was like, yeah, this was really good. Like I would do these all day if I could get something like this where I really helped the person.
I feel angry watching it. It must have been, you know, a moving experience when it was all done and dusted and you're flying home. Like you made a real difference to someone's life. Yeah.
It was a good one. Like I've gone to people's houses and helped them and fix their chargers where, you know, it's a 8,000 square foot house and they have 6 cars in the driveway and like, you know, they could pay for anybody to come and fix it. I'll still help you because, you know, I want you to get this right. I don't want you to have a problem. But when I go somewhere and I know it made a big difference in that person, you know, it's one of those things that like, yeah, I'll do this whenever I could if the opportunity. So I mentioned in the video too, you know, if anybody knows of any problem like this, let me know because I'm going to continue doing this series as much as it's good for me and my channel. And it is, don't get me wrong. This is great for me. It is completely building up public awareness because every time I do one of these, I get emails from people saying, you know, I just watched your video. So I went out in the garage, I shut the breaker off and I opened up my charger or my outlet and I could see it all charring like it was just starting to. So thank you so much. You might've saved my family. I already got 2 of those emails from this video, but the previous one, I got like 10 emails from people saying, I just thought I'd open it up just to take a look to be safe. And I could see, you know, it was already starting. The connection must not have been tightened enough because it was loosening up and starting to arc and melt. So now I'm going to replace the whole thing. So everybody in the comment stream here, 100%, if you're comfortable with it, shut your breaker off. And just open up the unit, even if it's a charger or if it's an outlet, just take a look in there and you could visually tell if there's something wrong, if it's melting, if the wires are starting to be discolored, and then call an electrician to come in and change it because you could, everything seems fine until it isn't. And sometimes you just don't know.
I tell you what, if I was Discovery, I'd be beating Tom's door down right now for a TV format because it's, you know, it tugged at my heartstrings just to hear the stories of, and not just this lady because of, you know, the needs of her family and what have you, just because people don't appreciate it and people get conned by, you know, bad trades. There's always good eggs and bad eggs in there in walks of life and just bad tradespeople or people like weekend warriors who do it themselves. I'll give it a go. Like, nah, this can burn your house down. Like, come on, like, don't save $500 or whatever the cost is going to be. Do it properly. So it is frightening, isn't it? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
incredible.
good reminder for myself. I haven't looked at my own. I had my a plug installed in my garage, and I haven't looked at it in the 2 3 years that it's been there. So I should probably actually do that when I get back home.
Okay.
It's always good chance to look at it. And thank you, John and Mark, for making those donations. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let's move on. And
my lighting is getting wonky here.
Yeah,
I might be in the shadows.
I know. European sunset. It's
I've got sunrise happening out here, actually.
Yeah, it's very, very early morning West Coast for you, and it's the end of the day for Tom, and I'm an hour before Tom, but there we go. So we can't talk about where Dom is, but we will do very, very soon. Some very exciting things that are coming to the channel, and a new partner with the channel as well we're very excited about. But yeah, Dom is in a mystery location on the West Coast, and Tom's having some leisure time, some well-earned leisure time. I think we'll all agree after that Recharger rescue. Hey, so we got some details this week on the Ram Charger. So the Ram Charger is one of two vehicles coming from Ram. There's the Ram Rev, which doesn't stand for Range Extended Vehicle. That's not the one with the engine. There's the Ram Rev, and that's been pushed back, we think, to the end of 2026. I'd ask you, will we ever see that vehicle? But I'm sure something will arrive at some point. And we saw details of the Ram Charger. We'll get some pickies on screen. I'll run through the specs that we got some details this week from the notes that I made. 654 horsepower, down from 663, but we'll forgive them. Acceleration 0 to 60, 4.5 seconds. I think they originally said 4.4. That's okay. The battery, 92 kilowatt hour gross pack, or 91.8 kilowatt hours total. Usable, 69.7. What a buffer. We'll get into that. Dual motor all-wheel drive system, 250 kilowatt front and 238 kilowatt rear electric motors, 3.6 litre V6 engine acting as a generator on that. But even if your battery's fully drained and at zero, you can still tow something like 14,000 pounds up a gradient. It will still act as a generator and generate enough electricity even if the battery is empty. But the idea is that you don't end up going that low in the pack. Electric only range 141 miles approximately. If you got no battery, you'd be doing about 20 mpg on that. DC fast charge is up to 175 kilowatts. And the towing capacity 14,000 pounds, 6,350 kilograms, and 2,625 pounds of payload on that. Onboard power 7.2 kilowatts from a bed-mounted power panel. Now, I guess we've got to get into what do we think of the specs, Tom, on the Ram Charger? They're obviously trying to fix a lot of the problems that EV trucks have been criticized rightly for. If you're towing and you're doing elevation and battery not being enough, if you're expecting to do big journeys. But what a buffer on that. 91.8 kilowatt hour total, 69.7 kilowatt hours usable. They really don't want you dipping into too much. They're not going to give you access to a bunch of the battery pack. That's going to help charge. It's a big pack. It's going to help charging quickly. But what do you think of the specs we saw of the Ram Charger this week then, Tom?
Yeah, no, I like it. And for this application, it works. Extended range, REV works for trucks and long towing. You guys remember I had an i3 with the range extender. I actually got the first one in the US back in 2014. And that was a similar type of a situation, where it was a BEV. It was classified as a BEV-X. It was an electric vehicle. It just charged the batteries. But if you guys recall, here in the US, to get more ZEV credits, BMW had to kind of neuter it. They had to make the buffer tiny. It was only like a 1.5 or 2 kilowatt hour buffer. And when the range extender turned on, and the Stellantis is going in the opposite direction, giving it this huge buffer, and that will help that even if they're towing 10,000 pounds up a mountain, and let's say for a short period of time, the range extender can't provide more power than what the vehicle is using, and I don't know all the specs. I don't know if that's even possible with this truck, but let's say it's fully loaded up and it's going up a really steep grade, a 5 or 8, 10 mile mountain climb. what this extra the buffer is they'll probably be able to draw on that, so that they'll have that extra battery there if the convention the regular motor can't keep up with the power demand temporarily. I mean, I don't know how they have it set up, but that could be one of the benefits of having the buffer. The other benefits is longevity on the battery, that the customers won't see after a year or two of using it, their AER won't be lower, because they'll probably have it in the software where, as the battery capacity degrades, and all battery capacities degrade, that, and this is speculation on my part, but I know manufacturers do this, that they more of the battery gets accessible. So, like, if they started off knowing they could drive 110 miles, but 3 years later they'll still go 110 miles, even with high mileage and a lot of use. So that there's a lot of reasons why you would do that large buffer like that, and for battery longevity, and just so that the vehicle always does what it did when it was new. Now I don't know this for a fact that that's how they're going to have the battery software language worked into it, but that could be a reason why it has such a big buffer.
Don, what do you reckon?
What Tom said, basically, because I don't really know why it's that big. I mean, it really struck me as a huge disparity in sizes between net and gross, and I don't know. I hear what Tom is saying, but it just seems like a lot, to a lot of extra battery to use for that, and why not just kick, I don't know. It's
do we know when the range extender turns on, at what state of charge?
That's the thing. Yeah, we don't know. I don't think until the first drive happens, which I'm not sure when that's going to be. I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, or whether it will be based on the demands that you're putting on the vehicle, either the speed or the elevation, or whether you can just force it to be off all the time until a certain state of charge, or whether if you leave it in auto mode, it'll just come on and off as it needs to.
Yeah, because if you remember, that was a big problem with the i3, that there wasn't enough buffer, and if you drain the battery and the range extender kicked on a flat surface, I could drive up to about 72, 73 miles an hour. If I went faster than that, and this is on a flat surface, I'd use more energy than the range extender could produce to charge the battery. So it would go into like a turtle mode. And if you were climbing a hill, it was much lower. It depends on how steep the hill was and how much weight you had in the vehicle. But it was happening all the time where people were going up these long inclines and the vehicle was dropping down to turtle mode and driving like 20 miles an hour on a 75 mile an hour highway. So I'm not saying that the Ramcharger would do anything like that, but I mean, that's the thought process of maybe having such a big buffer. Maybe they're going to use that for low end. When the range extender kicks on, they have a ton of battery left. If the duty of the truck is being called to use more power than what the range extender can produce.
Yeah, it sounds like mostly I've just heard people just kind of say, "Oh, it's for towing." Basically, so and that makes sense to have like a bigger buffer for like the mountain mode, what we used to call it in the Volt, and
because I mean, if the combustion engine could produce enough power under any towing circumstance, you wouldn't need that. So that I don't know what all the output is and how much how many kilowatts of power you need if you're towing 10,000 pounds up at 20% grade, but I would think that's the reason. And even with that buffer, it's got more than 100 mile AER, right, Martin? So I mean, honestly, I think it sounds like a good strategy to me if that's how they're going to implement it. I mean, with 100 mile AER, you're not dipping into the range extender on most days.
It's 141, Tom. 141 miles estimated.
So I mean, that's great. I mean, this seems like a jack of all tools for the for the tradesman that needs to tow long distance, needs to haul heavy things, wants to save money on the days where they're not doing that, and just driving on electric. but the downside is now you've got two different systems to maintain. There's maintenance that, for the combustion engine and all that you don't have to do with an electric truck. And that's big savings for businesses. But the savings don't help you if the vehicle can't do what your business needs it to do. And this should be able to do anything.
It's about use case with EVs, and it's the thing that we've never had to talk about as combustion car, journalists and reviewers and what have you, because it was so obvious that if you were buying an MPV, it wasn't going to have to behave like a Ferrari. And yet, when we went EV, because Teslas were so good at the beginning, and Teslas were only available along with Nissan Leafs, i3s, and Renault Zoes, we got into this weird place with EVs. Of it having to do everything, like 0 to 60 in 3 seconds and carry 12 people and tow a horse box. And I don't know how we ended up there, but I'm really pleased we're now in a place, we're getting to a place in the conversation around electric vehicles and car journalism where we go, actually, look, this is what this vehicle is designed to do, and it does it really, really well. And actually, if you need a vehicle to work, maybe a pure EV isn't just ready yet, and that's okay. It's not like admitting defeat or anything. We can say, actually, if you need this to be a working vehicle, having that V6, that Pentastar, it's 130 kilowatts it'll generate. That's going to recharge the battery really well, unless you are absolutely rinsing it, like Tom says, like towing and big gradient and stuff like that. So that's what this is for. Dom and I were talking about the Link & Co., which is now fully absorbed into Zeekr, which is part of the Geely Mega Group. And they are launching their 08, which is their third, not their 8th, but their third car in Europe. First one was a plug-in hybrid. Second one was full BEV. This is going to be a plug-in hybrid. And this is out in China already, and there's a few versions in China. But the one they're bringing to Europe this March, or this May, I think, maybe, is going to be the one with the 40 kilowatt-hour pack. So that's 124 miles of range and 200 kilometers of electric range. And at that point, you go, well, look, what's your use case of a family car? Because if you're carrying around a massive battery and, like Tom says, all the oily bits that are going to need oil changes and services and catalytic converters and all that stuff, at that point, just buy a BEV. You know what I mean? Like, if you're buying a massive battery in a plug-in hybrid, just get an electric car. You know what I mean? So, but if it's a working vehicle, well, then that's the use case. Then maybe this, I like the idea of this. I think this solves all the people that were the YouTube warriors that were complaining about electric trucks when the F-150 came out.
And that's what this is kind of feels like. It's a reaction to basically that fallout from the reception of the F-150. It's just got dinged so hard because they can't tow across the country, easily. Yes, and we saw that with the early reservations for the Scout vehicles. So have the range extended versions of those. Huge uptake. Was it 80%? Something like that. It was like
it's about that
large numbers. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out. If so the majority of people buy the range extended version, then realize they don't really need the range extended version so much, and it'd be like people who bought Chevy Volts and Honda Clarities. They had these plug-in hybrids for a while, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, they don't actually need them, and we'll just go all electrics then.
I remember when the Volt came out, like a year or two into it. I remember people posting in the forums how they would be like, "Yeah, I've got 27,000 miles, 35,000 miles, only 200 miles were on the range extender," and so I would message, "Well, then you didn't need the range.
Didn't need it.
Why did you buy it? Why didn't you buy a Leaf? You know what I mean? And don't forget the damn Volt the first version went like 35 miles on electric, and
right.
These people had them for like 30,000 miles and had under 1,000 miles with the range extender. And I'm like, that's great that you're able to do that, but do you see the lunacy in that? Like, you bought this engine and you lugged it around for 30,000 miles and you only used it for 800 miles. But that's, people do understand. You don't. What you need and what you think you need are two different things.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's the thing. What you think you need and what you actually need. And if you're a business or you're a tradesperson and you do need a utility vehicle, think about what you need. And honestly, if you need something that once a week or less, can be a working. In other words, something that if you need to go on a holiday twice a year or Thanksgiving trip and you are hauling everything, hire a vehicle. Drive an EV and hire a vehicle. No one's going to mind. But if you do something that would be inconvenient for, so once a week you do a big journey or you know something like that, 9 times out of 10, if you can charge this either at home or at work on cheap rate or off peak, you're going to save so much money on gas, like a ridiculous amount of money, and then just use this when you need to. I love this. I love this form factor for this vehicle. Right. How are we doing for time? Okay, before we go, certainly one more topic that we definitely want to get to today.
True.
And that is one of the big names of the EV industry left it. Well, didn't leave it. He's staying on for 2 years as a special advisor. And that's the CEO and former CTO of Lucid Motors. Peter Rawlinson got the elbow this week, or rather probably stepped down graciously. I'm not sure how I'm meant to fully describe it. Most of these executives have an easing away when the tap on the shoulder comes. He will stick around for another couple of years. Don't feel too sorry for him. He did get a $373 million stock award for getting that company through to all of its milestones. Of course, it did become public during that frenzy, really, around the EV industry post-pandemic. And so, but he hit all his targets, and he's done very well. Of course, he joined in 2015, 14, 15. I think he left Tesla in 2013. He was the VP of powertrains and the Model S project, I think, at Tesla. CTO at Lucid, CEO. The vehicles are incredible. No one's going to ever complain about how amazing a Lucid is. The new Gravity is just awesome. They are efficiency monsters, 5 kilowatt hours plus, but they are also burning through a lot of cash. Now, he's still going to get paid $120,000 per month for a 2-year contract. He'll be given access to a Lucid vehicle. He gets all of his health premiums paid and £10,000 a year for tax prep services, which I thought was a nice touch because it helps him out. It doesn't dip into the $373 million, you see. And then, and a supplemental stock award as well, just a couple of million. So, again, I don't feel too sorry, but also the human element of me, I would love to have seen him make Lucid work. The technology is incredible. There's no doubt he's a world-class engineer, but maybe replicating what happened at Polestar, where the head designer left Volvo to lead Polestar, and there's no doubt Polestars are incredibly designed vehicles in terms of the human interaction, the experience of being in them. It's design-led. But the company's not making money, and Lucid's got to make money. It's burning through billions. And so Peter Rawlinson's gone. The COO is stepping up as into an interim position. Now, Tom, obviously, Tom, over the years, you've come across all the people at the top of the EV industry, and that includes Peter Rawlinson. My impression is always one of the good guys of the industry. I always felt very earnest, and perhaps that personality ran through Lucid a little bit. Very worthy, it seems, as a car company, and they don't communicate how good their vehicles are to the wider public. Like we all know how good Lucids are. I bet you the average person, if you say what's a Lucid, they've never heard of the name.
Right.
Love him or hate him, that's what Elon Musk did at Tesla all those years ago. He broke through and was able to get all the attention, for good or bad. And I'm not saying that Peter Rawlinson have replicated Elon Musk's sort of playbook, but yeah, Tom, that was a big surprise this week.
Yeah, it was a surprise, and it's interesting. You've heard a lot of people speculate the reasons why. Was he pushed out? Did he decide that he had enough? I don't think anybody really has the answer to that. I can imagine how stressful it must be and how difficult it must be to be grinding away at this every day for the last 12 years, 11 years, 12 years with Lucid. Starting a car company is it's insane. It's one of the hardest things to do. That's why so few of them actually make it. It almost seems like it's not enough to make a great car, because the Air is a great car. It's one of the if not the best engineered vehicles on the planet. And every time I get one, I love driving them, and I've driven all of them. And like I said, when I when I get one on loan, or when I go to a first drive, I always, there's always that minute where I'm like, why don't I have a Lucid? That's how much I enjoy driving this vehicle. So, it's not enough just to engineer a great car. There's a lot of different things that go in together making a car company successful. And maybe he was great at 6 of the 10 qualities that you need. Maybe the company wasn't marketed right. Maybe it was didn't have the brand awareness that it needed to get a little bit further than what they have. And I'm not saying that it falls entirely on Peter's shoulders. Maybe it's good for Peter to just take a little break now. And I'm sure we have not seen the last of Peter Rawlinson. The guy's a brilliant automotive mind, and he's going to work with Lucid for a couple of years now in an advisory capacity. But I'm pretty sure we haven't heard the last of him. There's going to be more Rawlinson in the news in the coming years, and this could be good for him, and it could be good for Lucid. It's not necessarily a negative. This might be the right time. He might have brought Lucid as far as he could, and developed this incredible Air, brought the Gravity to market, has that next generation, that lower cost, I think $25,000 to $30,000 vehicles in development now, and that's coming out next. Maybe this is where Peter should be, and maybe this is where the company should be, and now give the reins to somebody else to run with it.
Yeah, I was under the impression that I heard rumors that he was just ready to take it a little more easy. For he's been working like hard for like a whole career. 68, 67, 68. I can see where and he could buy a small island somewhere maybe and have a nice view every morning. Yeah, it's he chose a good time to step down. It was on during the financial results for Lucid's Q4 and the 2024 overall results, which were pretty good overall. They beat their production targets. So what was they guided for 9,000? They produced 9,029. Delivered what? Yeah. So yeah, vehicles are up 71% for the full year as compared to 2023 and 2024. Those are all great numbers. Revenue is up. I'm not sure if the losses are down. When I think about Lucid, I don't worry too much about the losses right now. Anyway, it's a bit like wait till they have a high volume car for a couple of years, like they're working on a $50,000 SUV or whatever now. So when that is out for like a good year and a half, then I want to see some black ink instead of the red that they've been spilling so much of. But for now, I think he did a great job while I was there, and really set the groundwork, laid the foundation, as they say, for a successful company. But like the engineering is like really the most important part I feel for a new company. You need to have styling, but you need to have really a physical, mechanical things that are better than what the competition offers. And Lucid has done such a great job of just carving out that niche for itself.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, whatever he gets up to, he'll still be around for a couple of years. Then hopefully that technical input that he can offer. But yeah, good luck, Lucid.
And I just want to correct one thing. Before I said their next generation vehicle, 25 to 30,000, even as it was coming out, I knew it was wrong. I'm still spacing out. I haven't slept in like a day and a half. I just landed here. That's a sub $50,000 vehicle. They're not going that down market. They're still a premium luxury brand, but that's going to make, that's really, the Gravity, I think, is going to do well for them, because everything seems like it's an amazing vehicle, but it still is expensive. Tesla didn't start selling tremendous volume until the 3 and the Y came out. And, you got to get that. Lucid's got to get a vehicle down into that $50,000, $40,000 to $50,000 price range for them to really start selling in volume and become profitable. So That vehicle is well in development at Lucid. So, they could be just a couple of years from being in the black. So, and I wish them well, and I wish Peter well.
Absolutely. Having a look in the comments, not too much that we haven't got to.
We have a lot. Pete Glass mentions they have a lot of technology to license as well, and they've been doing some of that.
Yeah, true. Although the Aston Martin deal has been pushed back.
Has it?
They laid off a bunch. Announced plans to lay off a bunch this week at Aston. Their stock price is down. I see in the comments Wasim, not that one, the other one. Wasim was saying you haven't mentioned the Xiaomi SU7. The Xiaomi SU7 is, I think, officially now the most powerful electric production car in the world. So 3 motors, 1,500 horsepower, 93 kilowatt hour, 5C Kirin battery from CATL. It'll charge in 11 minutes. It starts at like 78,000. He said 73 here, US dollars equivalent. This thing's crazy. They launched it yesterday. Saying they want to sell 10,000 of them in a year. And I tried to think that through, and like, okay, you want to sell 10,000 of them in a year? Can they do that? And then 24 hours later, we sold 10,000 of them. So there's plenty of money in China. That's crazy. 10,000 of these pre-ordered. That's actually serious orders. That's not just people making a deposit-free reservation.
They could double the price of this, and it's still half the price of the Porsche Taycan Turbo GT.
I saw it this morning and I was like, what? Look, bear in mind, this is a company that hasn't been around a year, because it was last March that they first announced their first vehicle. Until they made widgets and phones before this. And now they've made the world's quickest production electric car. And setting all sorts of lap records on the test track. I've been watching some Chinese YouTube videos of this in the last few hours. And they've been just blasting away 911 records and stuff left, right, and center. But the people giving test drives are the engineers working on the project. So they're not like Stig or Tame Racing drivers. They're not like it's the engineer that worked on it. He's like, I'll take you out for a spin, and just busts the lap record. So, hey, we've done plenty of Chinese shows lately, and people go, oh, you talk about Chinese cars again, why? But we talk about electric cars. I don't know what else to say.
There's some good ones, China has some great electric cars.
There are some good ones. So, but we can't get it. Hey, no, this will come to Europe. I'm pretty sure this will be a European.
Oh, it ought to. I mean, it'll be 150,000. It's got to start at 150,000 in Europe, I would think.
Import taxes. Import
taxes.
You
need to make some money on that too,
Yeah, exactly.
Because in turn, I bet you that margin is super low, even though they don't really have any competition in that niche at all.
No.
Those margins have got to be tight.
They've sold 250. No, they've got orders for 200. Yeah, 138,000 of them they've delivered. They've got orders for 250,000 of them. There's an 8-month waiting list on the SU7. This is not even a year-old car company. We just said Lucid were having problems after years, but
and they have the U7 coming out, which is would be the more popular crossover version of this car is coming out, right?
Yes.
So these it's just, it kind of boggles the mind of the success of Xiaomi. This is an amazing effort by this company.
And on that bogglement, if bogglement is a word, it is now. Let's call it now. Thank you very much. Our two gentlemen experts on the podcast today, joining us from various parts of the world. Thank you very much, as always, for you watching along at home and listening along to the audio version. If you watch this, the video version, by the way, and you also like podcasts, or you listen to podcasts and you've got an app on your phone or your device maybe, then just go in there and search Batteries Included Podcast and add it. So that way when you're out, walking the dog or on a flight or doing some exercise, you've got the choice. If you miss the video version, you can always get us in your ears. We are always with you. No escape. You can, if you're watching the YouTube version, hit like and subscribe. It really helps out with the algorithm so other people get to find out about us as we grow the podcast. And again, thank you for your support this week as well, John and Mark. That's very kind donations. Leave a comment below so we can catch up with you in the meantime before we're back on the air. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Oh, hey, Dom, say ciao.
First, tune into the Chargescape episode that we. This is me saying ciao, but I'm also saying check out we had a great interview with Chargescape about how they can save you money and rescue the grid. Ciao.
Oh, I wasn't ready. I am now.